Hey everybody, and welcome back to another RCT2 review. Today we are looking at round 2, match 2 of H2H9. This one, as we talked about in the last episode, is going to be a one-off because this is a park that I helped build. And in addition to myself, the other major builder on the park was Maverix, who joins me right now.
Hello, and for my fun intro, welcome to Maverix RCT2 reviews, because I'm also putting this up on a different channel, so hooray. But
I'll
yeah, we
link to
built this
Mav's channel
together.
also, and
Yeah,
you can enjoy all of his reviews. He is way farther ahead than I am, so you can
got a bit
enjoy
more
all
free
those
time.
before I get there. So anyway, this park is, I'm probably going to butcher the name because it was so long. It was Nippon Professional Baseball Championship at Tokyo Dome City, right?
I think that's right. Nippon Professional Baseball Championship weekend at Tokyo Dome City.
Weekend, yeah, because this is a festival. So, without further ado, let's unpause it because there's actually a start to this. So, you can see the text at the bottom. It's the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. Here is the pitch, and there it comes. And it is out of the park. So, gone. And here we are watching our winner here circle the bases. There he is, walk-off
I'm
homer,
gonna
and here comes
pause.
the
I'm
team to
ever
celebrate.
so slightly ahead of you. All good.
And there's the
All right.
team here to celebrate. So,
Yeah.
a cool way to start. We wanted to do a synced, event to start the park, and this was Mav's idea early on to do this sort of walk-off home run and celebration, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. And he did all the syncing of this and everything to get it all set up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and what's funny to me too is I remember seeing a lot of people when this came out saying, "Oh, the hack's ridiculous." It wasn't actually. I don't even know if I'd call it a hack beyond just making things invisible and setting them to all open at the right time. Uh, but it ultimately came out like really really cool. I'm really proud and happy with how it turned out because it looks fantastic and is a really cool way to start off the map.
And here's some cool other details. Here you get your mascot. You have all your other frozen staff and things like that. Using Josh's peeps, which we did not have the animated diagonal ones because those came out the same round that we submitted this.
Yeah,
So one round too late. But
yeah,
we also have the TV camera here, which is the first of a bunch of custom rides that Kinos made. I think it was like 7 in total. It was something ridiculous.
something ridiculous like that. Yeah,
So spinning around, you can see the stadium on the side. We really not even pulled past this corner. If we zoom out real quick, we can see the overall map. So this is based on Tokyo Dome City, which is in Tokyo, Japan, with Thunder Dolphin, the Intamin hypercoaster. Not a recreation by any means, but a heavily inspired by the current and former park, with some of our own twists in there, I would say. Both
yeah.
Mav and I have been there several times.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what sprung this park to light was the fact that we both had been here and both really loved Japan, and it was one of those things that ultimately like it kind of almost made too much sense for us doing a park together that we were going to do something that both A was fresh in our minds because while this was also being built, I was actually over there and was actually able to go visit Tokyo Dome City while we were building the park. But yeah, just the amount of real life inspiration that we both had, I think, was a huge help into uh, this part coming out the way that it did. Having both been there and have that real life inspiration to draw from, and not just looking at pictures from a place we haven't been, I think was huge.
Well, and to be honest, the build time helped with you being in Japan and me being in the US because
I did.
I could build for the daytime, and then when I went to bed, it was your daytime. So it was
Yep.
a good way to double up on getting things done.
Yeah.
So for a park this small, we actually nearly hit the object limit, which I think was kind of cool.
Yeah.
The reason being is that it's multi-layered. We're using cutaway view to a pretty hefty advantage here. Everything here is built up from the ground, with proper structural members and things like that. Trying to
Hmm.
push the realism as I like to do, and you as well.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different aspects to this. There's sort of our main island, which has Thunder Dolphin here, And then we've got kind of a secondary ride space across the street, like the real one's got. There's the baseball stadium, and then we have this like street festival going on, which is part of this like baseball championship weekend. So if you come down the escalator here from the stadium, you get into this little street festival, trying to copy some of the little Japanese festival booths and things like that. So I made a couple of these and copied them along. Um, Sammy contributed here with our little medic vehicle.
Ambulance. Yep.
Yeah, so there's some pretty cool little stuff there, and then trying to make sure we get all the traffic details right. So copying a lot of the details from the real area around there, like the landscape median. Obviously, cars on the wrong side of the road as far as
well, for us Americans, yes.
As far as us Americans go, yes. I like the detail here where all the cars stopped, and the reason they're stopped is because this mechanic guy, Hiro-san, is working on the traffic lights to fix them. So, being Japanese folks, they're being very patient and waiting their turn, which I think is a clever way to not have moving traffic and still have traffic.
Yeah, because I think it was one of those things that we were talking about too as we were building it, that it almost would have made the park feel too busy having that much with the traffic going on, having that much moving, and just having that. It's both a joke on how polite and patient the Japanese culture can be, but also a good realistic detail into what would actually probably happen with something like that.
Exactly. So we'll take a ride on Thunder Dolphin here in just a minute once it gets back in. But let me start the cutaway view here. So we have this building here, this little
Oh geez, I'm way lower.
wavy building, which I called the peanut because it's peanut
It
shaped.
looks like a peanut.
So a couple details here as we cut away is we've got the entrance and queue area for the drop tower and the exit for the coaster. Going further down, we've got the gift shop for the coaster and the entrance down below. And then even further down, you get into some of the shops below, which you can kind of see throughout a lot of these interiors, which Mav did.
Or either is half me. Some of them were Sammy as well. He helped out with some detailing in places. And you did a lot of the facades, and then I would go in and interior them.
I was a big fan of this station here with the kind of wide open glass and metal curvature thing. Sort of the same deal as the real one, just made to fit RCT a little better. Here we can watch the coaster go a little bit also. So it was a good kind of splitting up the things that we each did well. Mav did the wavy roof on the big shopping center building here, and pretty much actually all of the custom sports on the coaster, which thankfully
I did.
You did, because that was not what I was looking forward to.
Yeah,
these are beefed up on the real one for earthquake preparedness.
Yeah, I'm a very big fan of the fact that scenery manager is a thing for this head-to-head, because the supports for the lift and everything were all just like one base unit piece, then all stacked on top of each other, which made building that way easier and faster. But still able to be accurate to what everything needed to be based off the real one, and still and then having the nets underneath the ride when it's going over the path, like you said, the beefed up supports at the bottom, because everything here, despite the fact that it's super crammed in here, it has to all be very designed for earthquakes, and so everything's just kind of beefy and gigantic. And one detail I wanted to point out too with Cutaway, they kind of go through, is the fact that the reason we've got one train on the ride is because the second half of the train, half of it is on the transfer track, and if you go down even further, half of it is down in what is essentially a annual maintenance area down below, to show off that we had that detail for how the vehicles get on the track, as they're loaded in from the street level and then lifted up inside the maintenance bay. So that was kind of a big focus for us on this park, was to not just have realistic details everywhere or just have interiors of everything, but have it so that everything actually made sense and functioned and was, designed in a way that would be, what you would do in real life.
Well, that one took a while to figure out because we went back and forth about how to make
Yeah,
that work, and actually redid the layout at the station a couple of times to try and figure out the best way to do that, and I think that was a decent option.
yeah, because I
So
think we had the peanut flipped at one point, I think
mhm.
maybe or something. Yeah,
That whole structure was just not. That was a thorn in my side from pretty much the get go all the way till nearly the end. That was one of the last things to go in as far as
yeah.
major structural stuff. So a couple things here while we have the cutaway down is our kind of interior plaza space inside. So Real Tokyo Dome's kind of got this double level thing going on. So this base level, we've got our little miniature train here, the JR Express, just cruising around the pathway, sort of a road train. Couple of food trucks down here in the plaza, and then this cool diagonal arcade that Mav added, um, as well as our carousel here, which I can maybe cut away a little bit more. This is another Kinos special. I had asked if it would be possible to do a carousel with horses that were fixed onto a platform, like a real one. Definitely glitchy, but I think it's a cool step in a direction to try and do
Yeah.
something like that, which I was kind of blown away that we could even do something to that extent.
Yeah, and I mean the big thing with it was that it that everybody's probably thinking, oh well, there's a base carousel in the game. Why would you do that? But by doing that, it allows you to have a custom cover that doesn't move and is a bit more. You can play more with the covers that you use and not have to worry about hiding the base game one. Or you can even for the factor, you could even make this different sizes if you wanted, bigger depending on the curvature you went with. So it was huge that was able to work, and then even did some nice detailing on the carousel as well, which was awesome.
And it's a bit more right sized. I prefer the 4x4 round flat rides to the 3x3. They just feel a little more, peep sized and everything else. I find that as I play this game more, I'm looking for just slightly larger footprints on flat rides. Um,
Yeah.
so one of the other ones now that I pulled up the cutaway view for the log flume here, we kind of squeezes all in here is the drop through the ring. We made the decision pretty early on. The second level was going to have an edge made with coaster tracks, so we can do it a little more smoothly. Challenge being that you have to fill in that half tile gap with scenery. That was all Mav, and something I didn't want to touch because it sounded like a pain. So let it to him.
I'm here for little details that you didn't want to touch.
Well, and little details added into little objects, and a whole lot of them, because Extreme made us a lot of
Oh
objects.
yeah.
So this archway here with the circle that the Thunder Dolphin dives through, this is like 8 or 9, maybe even more custom objects throughout. We
Mhm.
were trying pretty early on to do this this wavy building and come up with something that kind of has the nice curvature to it and matches what the real building is doing. So we went through a bunch of iterations. Mav, you started with some, and then
Mhm.
eventually I was like, well, I bet if we do it in a horizontal rather than a vertical curve, we might be able to make it work. Which is where
Yep.
the monorail came from here, stacked in the 1, 2, 3, 4 cluster, like the glass for Thunder Dolphin Station.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the biggest challenge, basically, I guess, macro wise with the whole park as far as architecture goes, was that this is going to be such a big focal point of the map, and we wanted it to be, not just a box, because the real thing is very out there on the shapes, and very very artsy and very theme parky essentially, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, I had a very very ugly first iteration, but at least I was just happy. We were able to. I think that was one of the biggest things that was a benefit for this map was uh, either one of us. Usually it was me trying something and maybe it didn't look quite right, but the idea was there, and then the other one, again, more often you, uh, seeing that idea, knowing where to go with it, and flushing it out to where it ended up now.
It honestly worked really well. And
Yes.
so this building on in the real park is not just part of the park, but it's also a mall. So if you spin around to this side, you'll see that we do in fact have the mall done, and every single store is filled out. So that was a big key for this park, is that everything was meant to have a completed facade or a completed interior, which we achieved. A lot of these are pulled from real stores in either that mall or elsewhere in Japan. We have some
Hmm.
other cool objects. Extreme made this T-shirt object for us, which really we put to use in great effect
Yeah,
here.
and it turned out really, really well. Again, I almost got a shout out to him almost as a bonus builder, just for how helpful he was in making objects for this park.
And if we go down to the basement here, this is another ride that we wanted to include from the very beginning. And I kind of set out the challenge of can we do it? And you and Zarathustra got on it early, trying to see if we could do this hack. So the real coaster here, back down, is a kind of coaster back down, I guess, is a Gerstlauer launch coaster that has four launches basically. It's got a first launch, a mid launch, and then the ride pulls into the station via a switch facing the opposite direction. And then it launches backwards and does the whole layout again backwards and then backs into the station. Um, Super clever, a really interesting idea, and something I wasn't sure if it was doable, but honestly, you guys both in like a day said, "Oh yeah, well we can do it. Here it is."
Yeah, well, I got it. It's almost. I mean, Zara was huge in just getting the basic idea down of saying, "Hey," because the basic idea for this hack is that you can overlay two different pieces that are face like a curve upward right is not the same as a curve downward left, so you can overlay them and not have them merge into each other. And then from that point, it was just a matter of getting the uh, control track to work consistently enough for launching the ride backwards. Because when it goes backwards, it's essentially the back car of the train, the control car, just kind of going downhill to pull up speed. But uh, yeah, it was super. It was super helpful on that. It was super fun just to get to doing the hack and uh, get the ride to work. Not just close to what it is in real life, but like it is in real life, which was super awesome.
Well, and one of the big things here was I had my structural grid for the building, and you had already built the coaster, so I plonked the grid down, and thankfully, I don't think we had any run-ins, and you didn't really have to adjust it, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Because this structural grid carries through as you bring up the other one, you can kind of see it carries through the entire space. Um,
Yep.
so it was one of those that I really didn't want to have to adjust. So it worked pretty well there.
Yeah, we definitely got a bit lucky on that one.
Yeah.
But,
Just
sometimes that happens.
stepping outside a couple other details, we wanted to include a little bit of a train just because it's Japan. I mean, it's
Yeah.
everywhere. So we have this little diagonal clip here, which is one of the last things we added. More traffic
Hmm.
down below, but this was a cool, I think, last day detail.
Yeah, it
Um,
was Saturday night, early Sunday
We've got
morning.
the jumbotron here, which Extreme made an object from a screenshot of the baseball stadium. So we have all these guests watching the game. I have the frozen peeps in here, and then we have a maze to have some other peeps kind of milling around and jumping up and down like they're cheering for the walk off home run that just happened.
Yeah, and that was again one of those things where as we were kind of going through towards the end, it was that head to head last minute. Uh, what can we add? What can we add? What can be better? As you're scrambling, and was it Extreme that even had the idea to do the screen? I
Something
forget
like
who had
that.
something like that, but he was able to not like literally. We asked, "Can we do this?" And about 5 minutes later, it was there, uh,
And
which was pretty cool.
the challenge was just filling this diagonal street because there was a ton of space in there, and we had to close down on this side for
Yep, for the festival.
the festival. And I really didn't want to do diagonal festival because I thought it would get too long and just not look good. So the other one that you added was the baby metal um, concert. So you've got the vans in
Yeah,
there and the truss structure for the basically post baseball concert getting set up.
yeah. So it's basically that was the idea was that because in real life Tokyo Dome hosts a whole wide range of events, and it just kind of made sense that hey, they're there, they at the festival, they'll start pre putting stuff out for the concert that they're having after, maybe the day after the baseball game, and then you got the posters on the wall for the concert of like, letting people know, hey, it's coming, which I was just messing around honestly, and that worked out really, really well to have those logos on the wall, and it really, like you said, it just helped fill out that diagonal space that was really a struggle for us figuring out what to do, because diagonals in this game, when you're not purposely doing them and you're just trying to fill them, can get pretty tricky.
Yeah, for sure. And tricky as well. It was just tough trying to get the original aesthetic down for some of these areas. So our secondary rides area over here went through, I don't know how many different changes as far as levels go, flooring details
Level
and
oh
patterns,
the
and
path yeah, the path
yeah,
itself must have been like 4 or 5,
yeah, it
something
went
ridiculous.
through a good variety until we went with this very bright colored, garish, wavy pattern, and it carried through to a lot of different things. This is sort of a typical Japanese theme park thing where they
Hmm.
paint the concrete into a different color, and
Yep.
it's very in your face, but it kind of worked. But here we get a couple more rides that Kino's made for us. So this is a custom swinging ship. I mentioned in the review of Seven Liberal Arts, they also have a swinging ship, which is kind of funny that we both
Yep.
had it at the
Both.
same time. So that was pretty cool there. And then the parachute ride, which is sort of a Tokyo Dome staple, I really wanted to have in there. So we did this, and Zara helped us set up this hack. It is an 8-way split hack. So this is all one ride, all loads up, and it loads at different times as well as the ride comes down. We also combined in the observation tower in the middle from the space below, which is something that Intamin offers and Knott's Berry Farm used to have. I think it might have been the only ones. Um,
Yeah, maybe. I know they definitely offered it, but yeah, it was uh, a very, very rare ride.
so it was kind of a neat one to do there. Cool hack for one, and really loving the drop that also slows down as it comes down to the bottom. Um, Definitely probably the most realistic representation of the parachute ride here,
Yeah.
which I appreciated. And then just a bunch of other custom rides. We have our little cat car, panda car, drive arounds on the ground. You got your troika here on the upper level, and then the big one here is the impulse coaster. So Tokyo Dome had the original impulse coaster, linear gale. So we said, well, why not recreate that since it's unfortunately long gone? But we wanted to add the cool staple of some of the other ones in that it has a holding brake on the back spike when you go up it the second time. So here we go, and we get the pause for a minute, and then it drops back down into the station. So that was another one like Backdawn that we wanted to include, but wasn't sure it was possible for one. But Zara helped develop that hack, and we put
Yep.
it into practice.
Yep. And then not only that too, but having it, normally if you just do a normal setup for the impulse coaster in the game, it has to re-enter the station forwards, but this is actually is able to enter the station backwards, so you get your actual 5 launch setup like you do on the real thing as well. So I think that was definitely, I know for both of us, a huge point of wanting to make sure that any ride that we put in, we wanted it to be accurate to what the real version of that ride does, and it's just super awesome that we were able to get some of these really complex uh, rides to do in RCT because of the nature of having to hack them. But they turned out awesome. So big shout out to Zara for helping out with those.
And then down below, which this was a very late last minute thing that we did. We were trying to get this done, and this whole park was probably built in about a month, and we were scrambling, but we got to the point where we were a couple weeks away, or maybe 2 weeks away from finishing the map, and said, well, I think we could do a little bit more since we've done so many multi-level things over in the main plaza. Let's do a basement here and put some other rides and things in this area. So we went down to street level and brought in another level. Basically, just chopped out the landscape from up underneath what we had already built above it, and did a couple of just smaller rides, a couple of shops, and things like that. So all along here, again, copying real. Real stuff from Tokyo Dome area. And then we have this dark ride here called Deep Abyss, which has another one of Kinos's great custom rides. This is an ETF dark ride car. And I think I did the layout and you did the theming for it all.
Yeah, and I did the theming, and what felt like 30 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, it was. I remember packing this one up and sending it off the one day, and then coming back, and it was like all completed. And I was, I was like kind of floored about how fast you went because
That's that's what I'm known for. Is I can build very quickly.
you got the
Whether or
cool
not it's good is we find out after the fact, but I'll build it fast.
you got your cool single rail track and train here for the octopus, the kraken, and then you've got the sunken Shinkansen on the side, and it's cool because it kind of tells a whole little story the whole way around, which I appreciate trying to do in these dark rides beyond uh, just the
Things
scenery
to look at.
pieces.
Yeah, I mean that's always too just from my background of being in the amusement industry as well. That uh, if you're gonna, as simple as it might be, if you're gonna have a dark ride, it has to have some semblance of a story behind it. So for me, that was really important to get that in there, and obviously it came across like that. So
Yeah. And then if we jump to the other side of the map, we've got this whole facade of buildings, which is pretty much all Mav on this one. The cool one to call out here is
Tato Station.
yeah, the center one here with the red. You got your McDonald's here on the first floor, but this whole thing, if we spin it around to the outside, is a basically vertical theme park.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Tato Station, again, everything in this park is based off of real things in Japan. Tato Station's very, very popular, very common arcade that you'll find in most of the big cities, for sure Osaka and Tokyo, that are set up like this because you don't have a lot of space in Japan. So it's these multi-level arcades that some of them, if they get bigger, essentially can grow into a mini theme park of sorts, which is what we have here. And because of that, it allowed us to get the infamous Intamin half pipe on top of a building that never opened. So if you want to go into the details of the story of that ride,
Yeah. So this was built. The real one of these was built in Osaka.
no, it
On
was
top.
Tokyo.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was Osaka, wasn't it?
Well,
On you can we'll
it
find
was
out
on
later.
top of a building in
We'll
Japan.
verify. It was in on top of a Don Quixote, basically department store, and it was built up there and never opened. There's some disagreement as to why it never opened. It seems that the prevailing rumor is that the structural strength of the building did not fully account for the dynamic structure or dynamic movement of the ride. So anyway, it never opened, was eventually taken down, and has since been removed. But we thought we would add the same thing, also standing but not operating, on top here. Which I think was a cool little detail. And then just in the back of all these, there's all sorts of just nice details, added things, clickable stuff. Like I've said in my other videos, I am a huge fan of the clickable things to explore and just learn more stuff.
Yeah, and tell the story throughout using the clickable objects, because it's just a nice, I'm not going to say easy way to add story, but it's a very effective way to add story to a park, to have all these different things be clickable and explorable, and find out what's really going on down here or whatever.
Well, and then last explorable thing. So this was like 2-3 days before the deadline, I think, that we added this
Probably,
in.
yeah.
This was close. So this is the Namboku Line subway system, which is the same subway that actually goes right by the rail park. But dropped the whole thing since it was underneath the road. We didn't really have to adjust too much. Put in some shops that you would expect. Sammy did some really cool details like the subway metro map and some of the other things. There's this broken water line here, and just some fun little details the whole way through. We've got the nice long trains, and kind of comes down and wraps around, and then slows down and stops. I didn't want to have this where it was just bouncing back and forth, so I did have it kind of circle the the backside here and come around, but I also wanted it to slow down before it parked and everything. So a couple little details like that, trying to keep it realistic, but it was a nice addition, I think, just to give yet more things to look at, and I think the amount
Hmm.
of cutaway view that we have really shows how we came close to hitting the object limit because there's just so much stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was. I mean, we got what? Have you count all the main layers itself? There's the subway. There's the underground and under the blue area. There's the blue area itself. There's the baseball field. There's the mini plaza with the log flume in it. There's the second level to the theme park, and that's before we even get into any of the actual buildings themselves, which then again all got fully flushed out. So it was yeah, we came. I think we were what, 9,000,
Yeah,
eight
9,000
thousand
away.
objects away.
There was a part of
Um,
me that wanted to hit that at the end, and we nearly went for it. We just ran out of time. And to be
yeah,
fair, at that point, it would have just been spamming objects for the sake of spamming objects, which is probably not the best thing. So it's
no.
probably for the best that we ran out of time. Last thing I'll point out here is just all the little billboards and things, which was a combination of you and Sammy doing all these lots of just really cool signage details and just um, other very Japanese things. It's a very formulaic building type thing in Japan for these high rises. How you have super dense, super detailed, very sign heavy first, second, third floor maybe, and then after that it's very repetitive all the way up to the top, and then you have your screened roof with the HVAC unit. So, uh, lots of those sorts of cool signage details and just general crunches, as we'd say in New Element anyway.
Hmm.
Um, but I like that kind of stuff on here, so that was very cool.
Yeah, I think it turned out well. Again, Sammy came in huge with a bunch of help for a lot of the details like that, the signage, the interiors. Um, Kino's helped make a lot of these custom rides really what they are with the great vehicles, and then some of the bonus help from Zara and Extreme for objects and hacking. Um, it was this definitely felt, I guess we were the main two builders on the park, but this is felt as much of a team effort as anything, to really get this to where it ended up and is now, which is one of the more proud parks I've ever worked on for sure.
Yeah, I think this was a lot of fun. I love the Japanese theming stuff, just because I spent some time over there, and I mean not as much as Mav, but still, doing the theme parks and everything, and it's just kind of fun to build something that you're familiar with, but may not be quite as mainstream as some other things. So it was kind of neat
Yeah.
to pick a sort of kind of unique theme and just do it really well. I find in head to head it's often difficult to get realistic themes to work on a head to head map because you got to have such density to really make something competitive. So this was something we really wanted to try hard for, and this lended itself really well to um, the head-to-head format with map size limitations. So it's certainly there's a lot of times when I would have preferred 10 more squares, but um, definitely helped us cram it in there and do it to the point where it was all readable despite being somewhat chaotic. It was a
a
big
little
thing.
a little bit. I mean, that was definitely I remember that was just the beginning of this, a huge point that you made and did a really good job of just getting this laid out to the point where we could have the density that we want but still have it readable. um and also like just the layout of the whole map came together really really nice to be a good interpretation of what's there in real life, while also playing into the limits of RCT to not put too much stress on ourselves to have to try to make new crazy objects or things like that, and just overall have everything really fit together. There's really, this angle that we're looking at now, I'd say is the main angle, but I really don't think there's a bad angle to view this park. And then we throw the cutaway in there. I'm just really proud of the how much detail we were able to get in here without having it feel you know unreadable. It's all there. You can tell what's going on.
Yeah, you think through those sight lines, you think through those layers. There's a very very good reason that the map is shaped the way that it is, that the buildings are the heights that they are, the parachute
Hmm.
tower is the height that it is, just to make sure that whatever we build, we're not completely blocking everything else. And I mean, you can't build this without blocking some things, but making sure that at least one of the
Yeah.
angles is viewable. So it was a tough challenge, I think, but I'm pretty happy how it turned out, and it seems everyone agreed since we were able to take home the W with this one, give Logan's Run
Yeah.
our first victory of the season. Um,
Yeah.
but it turned out well.
Yeah. I'm really again, yeah, really proud of it. Really happy we were able to get a win, first one of the season, um, and keep it going from there.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up here at this, and I hope you enjoyed this video. We will follow this with match 2, round 3 on my channel, and then we'll continue
and
on.
and whatever video I end up at on mine, probably somewhere around. I think I'm done with round 3.
At some point coming soon to a YouTube near you. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and thank you to Matt for co-hosting this video
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
And
Thank you to Brian for co-hosting this as well. And it's been fun.
we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you.
All right.
Bye now.